This question asks to show the percentage of total purchases for each material in 2015, and we're going to be using purchases, material description, and now we see the sum of purchases for each material across all years, but we only want for 2015, so we need to filter based on tr_trans_date. And then we don't want to include this null value here. And then instead of showing the sum of purchases, we want to show percentage of total. So we're going to do quick table calculation and do percent of total. And now we get percent of total purchases for each material. So these different bars here will sum up to 100%. So this is the graph we want to create, and now there's a bunch of formatting to apply to the graph. So first we're going to work with the x-axis. So we're going to show these x-axis labels vertically. So notice here that these names here are not shown the entire names, and we want to show them. So one way of doing that is to do vertical labels instead. So we're just going to say rotate labels, and now we have vertical labels. We could do something else too to make these names a little bit shorter. So notice here, for example, this one still is not quite showing. We can alter how much space we're giving to them, and we can resize the entire graph too by dragging and dropping it like that. You can also change the names of these, what actually is displayed. So if we go to material description, we do the drop down bar, we do alias, and then we can change what these are going to be called. So instead of saying this long name, we could just simply say polyethanol and then maybe high. And for the other one, we just say standard instead of standard grade. And now they are a little bit shorter. Let's see, what else do we want to do? We want to remove the column field label name, so we want to remove this one. It's not very descriptive. I know the ceramic and all these things are different materials I'm purchasing, assuming here that we know something about the data. So I'm simply going to remove this, which would be hide field labels for columns, and that is gone. And then the y-axis, we're going to change the y-axis label to percent of total purchases. So just double click on that, and here in axis title I'll just say percent of total purchases, and then I don't want to include any decimals on the y-axis percentages, and there already are no decimals, but let's pretend there were some decimals. I would simply go right click and say format, and then I go into scale, I go into percentage, and then here I can change how many decimals I want. So I set that to 0, and now I have no decimals. Then in the general chart area, we want to create a chart title called percent of total purchases company wide. So I'm going to just double click on this, say OK, and now I have a new chart title. I don't want this sheet name here, so I'm going to just remove that and say OK again. And then it says to add labels on top of each bar indicating the percent of total purchases. There's a number of different ways to do this, but the most easy way to do would just simply go to labels and then select show mark labels. And then let's say we don't want to have 2 decimals on these, we only want 1 decimal. I can again go ahead and format these. So I'm going to go ahead and right click here and say format. In pane, I'm going to say default numbers, and I'm going to again say percentage, and then I'm going to change this to 1 decimal, and that now displays better.